The world of politics might seem like a fair game where every vote counts. But what if I told you that the game is rigged? That the wealthiest 1% hold more power than we could ever imagine, shaping laws, elections, and even the future? In fact, in the 2020 US elections, just 0.1% of Americans contributed a shocking 40% of all campaign donations. That's more money than some countries spend in a year. Money is the real power in politics, and it's not just about donations, it's about influence. Billionaires fund political campaigns, create laws that benefit their businesses, and control media narratives that sway the public. The question is, how do they do it? And why does it seem like the rich always win, no matter what? In this video, we'll take a deep dive into how the wealthy shape the political landscape. From secret networks of power to the quiet manipulation of laws, you'll see how the game is stacked against everyone except the rich. Stick with me to uncover the strategies that keep wealth at the top, and what you can do to break the cycle. Chapter 1: The Money Power Play. Politics as a billionaire's playground. It's no secret that money talks in politics. But for the ultra-wealthy, it doesn't just talk, it dominates the conversation. The wealthiest people know that their cash can influence the direction of policies and elections. For instance, in the 2020 US presidential election, the top 1% of Americans contributed more than half of all campaign donations. That's power in its purest form. Big donors often use their wealth to back candidates who support their interests, from tax cuts to deregulation. Take the Koch brothers, for example. Their political network spent over $400 million in the 2016 election cycle to push their conservative agenda. This shows how billionaires shape policies that benefit their business empire. But it's not just about donations. Wealthy individuals also invest in think tanks and lobbying firms. The American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, is a prime example. ALEC helps corporate giants draft model legislation that benefits them, influencing laws across the country. In fact, ALEC has been linked to over 1,000 state laws. What's interesting is that wealth doesn't just affect federal elections. Locally, wealthy individuals and corporations can reshape entire state legislatures. In 2018, for example, billionaire hedge fund manager John Arnold spent $20 million to support initiatives aimed at curbing pensions for state employees. This kind of influence is often invisible, but it's massive. The wealthy also know how to maximize their influence through super PACs. These political action committees allow unlimited contributions, giving the rich an unmatched advantage. Super PACs spent over $1 billion during the 2020 elections alone. That's more than the entire budget of some countries. So, while regular citizens rely on voting, the wealthy play a different game, one where they create the rules, fund the candidates, and shape the policies. In this game, money isn't just a tool, it's the key to winning. Chapter 2: Elite Networking, the secret circles of influence. While money is the engine, networking is the fuel that keeps politics moving for the rich. The wealthy rarely work alone, they've built powerful networks to push their political goals. These networks are often invisible to the public, but their impact is undeniable. Take the annual meetings of the Bilderberg Group, for instance. This exclusive event gathers some of the most powerful figures in politics, business, and media. Every year, billionaires, top politicians, and industry leaders meet behind closed doors to discuss global policies. These aren't your average dinner parties, they shape the future of entire nations. But it's not just about high-profile secret meetings. Wealthy individuals often fund elite, networking groups that open doors to power. Groups like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission allow the rich to build relationships with lawmakers and other influencers. The connections made in these settings often result in favorable policies for the people at the top. The Koch brothers again provide a solid example. Their political network hosts secretive donor retreats where wealthy individuals can mingle with top conservative politicians. These gatherings are designed to ensure that wealthy donors have access to lawmakers, and can bend their ear on crucial policy issues. Think about Silicon Valley, where tech moguls like Mark Zuckerberg and Larry Page routinely meet with politicians. Whether it's funding a campaign or offering policy advice, these tech giants play a massive role in shaping legislation, from internet regulations to privacy laws. It's not a coincidence that tech giants often get what they want in Washington. What sets the rich apart is their ability to create and tap into these exclusive circles. By building relationships with decision-makers, the wealthy ensure that their interests are always represented, even if it means leaving the rest of the public in the dark. Chapter 3: The Media Empire, Shaping Reality, Controlling the Narrative. Money doesn't just influence politicians, it also influences the way people think. And for the rich, controlling the media is one of the most effective ways to sway public opinion and push political agendas. The wealthiest people often own massive media empires, giving them a platform to shape narratives that favor their interests. Take Rupert Murdoch, for example. Through his company, News Corp, Murdoch controls a significant portion of the media in the US. His Fox News channel has played a key role in shaping conservative politics for decades. By controlling the news cycle, Murdoch ensures that his views and those of his wealthy friends are always front and center. But the media's influence extends beyond traditional outlets like TV and print. Social media is now a battleground where the rich fight for control of the narrative. Companies like Facebook and Google, led by tech billionaires, have become the new public square. They can easily influence elections, as seen in the 2016 US presidential election, when Russian operatives used Facebook ads to sway voters. But it's not just foreign interference. Tech companies themselves often push content that aligns with their interests. Wealthy individuals also use their media power to promote policies that benefit them. For instance, during the debate over healthcare reform, insurance giants and pharmaceutical companies used media campaigns to push their own agendas. They hired top PR firms to create misleading narratives that made it harder for the public to understand the real issues at play. In fact, studies have shown that media ownership has a direct influence on public opinion. In the US, just 6 corporations control nearly 90% of the media. This concentration of power means that the rich control most of what the public hears, reads, and watches, making it easier to influence political opinions. It's not just about telling people what to think, it's about deciding what they hear in the first place. The rich use the media to shape the very reality in which people live, guiding public opinion and directing the political conversation in ways that benefit their wealth and power. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more on how the wealthy control politics and how this impacts all of us. Stay tuned for the next chapters. Chapter 4: Policy Manipulation. How laws get written in favor of the few. The wealthy don't just donate money to political campaigns, they also use their wealth to shape the very policies that impact their lives. Through lobbying, they ensure that the laws favor their businesses and interests. In 2020, US companies spent a staggering $3.5 billion on lobbying. That's more than the entire annual budget of some small nations. Lobbying isn't just about buying influence, it's about controlling the legislative process. Major corporations often hire lobbyists to push for laws that reduce taxes, protect monopolies, or lower regulations. For example, when the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed, large corporations like Apple and Amazon reaped massive benefits, all thanks to years of lobbying. The most fascinating part? These lobbyists don't always work for the corporations directly. Sometimes they operate through third-party organizations, like industry trade groups or think tanks. For instance, the National Association of Realtors has been one of the most powerful lobbying forces in US politics for decades. These organizations help wealthy industries craft laws that ultimately put more money in their pockets. In addition to lobbying, the rich also use campaign contributions to shape policy. When a billionaire funds a politician's campaign, they often expect a return on their investment. After a politician is elected, they may introduce bills or policies that benefit those who helped fund their success. It's a cycle of influence that gives the wealthy an unparalleled advantage in politics. One of the key strategies used by the rich is funding think tanks to create the ideas that policymakers adopt. A study by the Center for American Progress found that 30% of all the policy proposals introduced in Congress were originally written by outside think tanks. This shows just how much power these organizations have in shaping the political agenda. In the end, the wealthy are experts at turning their money into laws that benefit their businesses and wealth. They do this by influencing the policy process from the inside, ensuring that the legal system is rigged in their favor. When you're wealthy, politics is just another tool to keep your empire growing. Chapter 5: The Quiet Revolution, Wealth and Political Dynasties. The impact of wealth in politics isn't just a matter of money changing hands, it's about the power of dynasties that ensure wealth stays in the hands of the few, generation after generation. Some families have been shaping political landscapes for decades, ensuring their influence continues far beyond their lifetimes. Consider the Koch family. Charles and David Koch transformed their company, Koch Industries, into one of the largest private corporations in the world. But their influence doesn't stop there. Through the Koch network, the family has spent billions on political donations and lobbying, shaping US policies for years. Their political dynasty isn't just about business, it's about maintaining power and influence across generations. Another prime example is the Kennedy family. While the Kennedys are known for their political legacy, their wealth plays a massive role in their political clout. Their financial power allows them to fund campaigns, influence policy, and maintain connections with the most powerful figures in American politics. These political dynasties don't just affect the wealthy families, they shape entire political systems. They create networks that operate behind the scenes, ensuring that certain policies remain in place and that the right people hold power. It's like a quiet revolution that continually shifts the balance of power in favor of the rich. What's also interesting is how these dynasties maintain their influence through strategic marriages and alliances. The political power of families like the Rockefellers or Rothschilds has been passed down through generations, often through carefully planned unions that extend their control over politics and business. A major reason political dynasties thrive is because they have the financial resources to remain in the game. While average citizens struggle to make their voices heard, these families have the money to keep pushing their agenda year after year. They understand that power isn't just about having wealth, it's about ensuring that wealth is passed down and used to maintain influence in politics. Chapter 6: The Puppet Masters. How campaigns are bought and sold. In the world of politics, campaigns are often more about money than ideas. The wealthy know this all too well, which is why they spend millions to ensure their preferred candidates win elections. But it's not just about throwing money at candidates, it's about buying the right candidate for the job. Super PACs have become one of the most powerful tools for the wealthy. These political action committees can accept unlimited contributions, which means they can flood the airwaves with ads supporting or attacking candidates. In the 2020 election, Super PACs spent more than $2.7 billion to influence voters. This kind of money is enough to sway public opinion and change the outcome of an election. The rich also use their money to create massive media campaigns. These campaigns don't just promote candidates, they shape the entire political conversation. Take the example of the Koch brothers' Americans for Prosperity campaign, which has spent over $500 million influencing US elections since its creation. By funding these campaigns, the wealthy ensure that their views are represented on a massive scale. What's striking is how often these campaigns use negative ads to attack opposing candidates. Wealthy donors know that negative ads are incredibly effective at swaying voters. In the 2016 election, over 50% of TV ads were negative, with many funded by super PACs linked to wealthy donors. This is a tactic that the wealthy know all too well. It's about manipulating public perception. Interestingly, the influence of money isn't just about buying candidates, it's about creating a culture where the wealthy have a monopoly on political campaigns. With the rise of Citizens United, a Supreme Court decision in 2010, political donations by corporations and wealthy individuals have only grown. This ruling allows billionaires to effectively buy influence, turning democracy into a system where the rich control the conversation. By funding these campaigns, the wealthy ensure that the candidates they back are loyal to their interests. This creates a system where, no matter who wins, the rich always have a seat at the table. It's a game where the rules are rigged, and the wealthy are the ones who set them. If you want to stay updated on how the wealthiest players in politics continue to shape our world, make sure to hit that subscribe button now. Don't miss out on our next deep dive into how this system works.